Hi everyone. So on the agenda for today, we have handstand. Okay, Adho Mukha Vrksasana, full arm balance. Today's practice is designed specifically for students who are not yet confident in handstand and are looking for what to practice to ultimately get there. Okay, so it's a strong practice, some really good work for the shoulders, for upper arm strength, and it's vigorous. But based on sort of that principle of you can't perfect your handstand in handstand, right? You got to learn the basics elsewhere. That's what this practice is all about. So, if you can't get up, you can't get up yet. So I want to give you some things to practice that, may still be challenging for you, but are hopefully within reach, something that you can work on and sort of work away at. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Okay, let's begin in a variation of Adho Mukha Vrksasana. And I'm showing here with 2 bricks. If you don't have 2 bricks, and they could be foam or any material, wood, foam, cork, whatever you have, you could also use a stool or a chair, just something with some height. Okay, so position yourself so that you can hook your elbow and a little portion of your upper arm here on the bricks. And then adjust your distance. So adjust the placement of your knees, your lower legs, so that when you reach your hips back, you're starting to feel some opening through the side body here. Okay, so you kind of have to work that out a little bit. And then press the tops of your feet, press your ankles, press your shins, and reach the corners of your hips back. Okay, reach them back, and then also roll your buttocks down. Okay, so you'll notice my buttocks is very close to my heels. Okay, now I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this or not, but in fact, as I'm reaching back, my bricks are almost lifting a little bit, right? They're going, that's how much opening here I'm getting through the side body. So if I were to move my knees closer to the bricks, it just doesn't feel as strong, So I like to do it this way here. Okay, now let yourself settle here, be here, and just start to understand your own body. Okay, so notice where you're flexible and where you're stiff. Okay, a lot of times, and I definitely fall into this category, the lumbar spine can be very flexible or more easily flexible. Not for everyone, but for some. So like what I'm showing here, where it's just kind of easy to go down in that spot. Okay, so I like to put the brake on that mobility and instead focus the work here to penetrate more into the upper back, the thoracic spine. Okay, so I roll my buttocks down, I press my hands together, rotate my upper arms from the inside out, and then reach into the elbow points. Okay, and affix the shoulder blades more strongly onto the back. As you inhale, lengthen a little bit forward, so hips reach back, but then reach into the elbows. And then as you exhale, receive the back body, penetrate the back body onto the front body more and more. Okay, release the neck. If your head touches the floor, then let it rest there. Forehead can be supported. If it's not touching anything, just make sure that you're not, tense in the neck there. Keep it loose. Okay, hips back, reach into your elbows and lengthen the sides of your body. Lengthen your side waist, side ribs, side chest, and then again circularly rotate your upper arms. Receive the back body onto the front body more and more. Breathe here. Okay, now you can also play with the positioning of your arms. So you've got your hands touching each other, but experiment. Which angle of the forearm gives you that best sort of penetration into the upper back? Right? You can have the arms here, you can have them here, you can bring them, right? See where it feels good. Explore. Maybe take a few breaths in a few different places and be with that for a bit. Inhale and exhale. Again, on the inhale, with your hips anchored, buttocks rolling down, pull the sides of the body out from the corners of your waist and extend those elbows, almost like you're trying to reach the elbows further along the bricks. And then as you exhale, descend your side chest. Breathe. Okay, and then slowly release. Okay, carefully push yourself back up. Take a couple breaths here. Okay, and then just feel what's happening. Feel the level of sensitivity, alertness in your front body, back body, side body. Also take notice of your breath. Okay, feel the clarity of your breath, the smoothness of your breath. Right? There's no right or wrong, but just observe it, be with it, and see what's going on. Okay, take your 2 bricks and now place them against the wall. Okay, there's actually 2 different setups that I'll show for this. We're gonna do a variation of Admokasvanasana. So I have a little baseboard here at the wall, and so the bricks lay very, nicely, easily against it. And so they can be angular like this. If you do not have the baseboard and or your walls are maybe a little more precious than my walls, then another option is to take a bolster or, maybe a couple of blankets rolled together, something soft and, thick, and then lean that against the wall and place your angled bricks on top like this, okay? Both options are great. Okay, both work very well. And then what you're gonna do here is lift yourself up into downward facing dog, Admokasvanasana, and press up and back. Okay, so I don't know if you caught there what I just did with my legs. I lifted my foot up, flexed my foot here, and then adjusted so that I was really on the back of my toe mounts. Okay, I'm doing this and I'm able now to even lift my toes off the ground. Okay, then reach, just kick your heels sort of out a little bit, reach into your heels, okay, out and back. Now press your hands into these bricks and lift your hips up even more. Okay, move your knees back, thighs back, and descend into your heels. Okay. Now raise your eyes up a little bit and look towards your bricks. Rotate your upper arms from the inside out like you did previously. And now press the heel of your hand so strongly that you can now lift your fingers. So you're flexing at the wrists. Okay, press the heel of your hand into the bricks here. Lift your fingers. And move your hips up and back more. Penetrate your groins from front to back. Okay, broaden the back of your legs from the inside out. Yes, breathe here. Okay, then you can release the head. Just keep the ears level between your upper arms. Even the touch, right side and left side. Okay, rotate your upper arms, push the heel of your hands into the bricks and lift your hips up and back more. Lengthen your side trunk. Create space between each row of ribs. From your wrist to your hips, can you get one straight line? And then observe here your back body, front body, back body, side body, and see if you can create a similar sensation in the thoracic spine as you had in the last Admokasvanasana. Okay, so again, if that lumbar is easily mobile, put a little bit of the brake there and insist that the penetration come in that upper back. And you can hold this. You can hold it for a while. You can also come down, rest, and go back up again. Okay, notice if you're leaning, if you're putting more weight into one wrist versus the other, one hand versus the other. Okay, this is going to give you some feedback about your shoulder blades. All right, and then release, bend your knees, and pause. You can take Adho Mukha Vrksasana, head down, arms soft, right? Just let the upper back broaden, give your wrists a bit of a rest here as well, and take a few breaths. For this next variation of Admokasvanasana, you can remove the bricks. We're going to turn around and have the feet into the wall this time. Okay, now just before we get started, I do want to make one point here about the placement of the hands and the width. Okay, when your arms are forward, see that you can fit, right? So the distance between the wrists is at least as wide as you are. Okay, don't be too narrow. Okay, then the other thing is to look at the angle of your wrist. See if you can make this angle here parallel to the end of the mat, okay? Now, I think different bodies are different. For me, I find that if I point my index finger straight forward, then my wrist is aligned. And I'm starting to encourage here that external rotation. Okay, I've seen it taught different ways. You know, some people point the middle finger forward, but just check for you, because I do notice that on a lot of bodies, when the middle finger is pointing forward, it's rolling in a little bit, right? So it's just counter to what we're trying to achieve today in this particular presentation. Okay, so check for that. All right, so now place yourself so that your legs are maybe hip distance apart, okay, about that distance, and your heels are elevated on the wall. If you have a baseboard, that's great. If not, just lift the heels a little bit up, okay? When the heels are down, it's gonna have one effect. When the heels are lifted, it's gonna have a different effect. Okay, see if you can catch that, observe. Okay, now press your hands into the floor. Externally rotate your upper arms. Push the floor down and lift your hips up and back. Descend into your heels, lift your buttocks up, push back. Okay, there's this sort of like a tension here in this pose where the back of your legs, try to lift the back of your thighs to bump up into the buttocks, but at the same time, don't overdo the lifting of the buttocks, right? So the tailbone still has to plug in a little bit, but lift the back of the thighs towards the buttocks there, okay? Even the touch, right hand and left hand. Rotate your upper arms and then push the floor, lift your hips up and back. Push the floor down, and then as if you could sit your buttock bones up on the wall behind you, up and back. Penetrate your groins from front to back. Okay, front groin, back groin, up and back. And breathe, be here. Okay, and then rest. Bend your knees, come down, pause for a moment. Okay, so now next we're going to take it into Ekapada Admokasvanasana. Okay, so you're going to come to where we just left off. Like so. Even the touch of your right hand, left hand, right heel, left heel. Press down into the floor, lift your hips up, penetrate those groins. Okay, externally rotate your upper arms. Everything we've done. Now, disturbing yourself as little as possible. So with, try not to shift the weight in like a large way. Raise your right leg up, tuck the toes under, and extend into your heel. Okay? Reach the back of your leg into your heel and absolutely straighten that lifted leg. Push into your wrists, push the floor down, extend up into that lifted leg. Create a straight line, again, on the right side from your wrist all the way to that heel. On the left side, from your wrist toward the corner of that hip, okay, without sinking anywhere. Ekapada Admokasvanasana. Hold it. And then release, up and back. Okay, if you need to come down, rest in between sides, no problem, do that. And then catch back up. Okay, second side. In order to do this without those big movements, what I tend to think of is I imagine a brick between my legs. And so from the outer leg, squeeze in like you're squeezing this imaginary brick. Keep that action and then extend the second leg up. Okay, so your left leg, reach up. This right side here, you're not letting it go out because you're squeezing that imaginary brick. Okay, keep the left toes tucked and extend into your heels, or your heel, excuse me, and straighten that leg. Push the floor down. Rotate your upper arm, right side and left. Okay, push the floor down. See how far the message travels. Can you get the communication from your wrist all the way to that lifted heel? Okay, then what's happening to your hips? Flare the back of the lifted leg open. Broaden that buttock. Broaden the back of that thigh. Resist the right hip into the midline. Extend into your left heel. Breathe here. Okay, and then release. Admokasvanasana. And then bend your knees and take Admokavirasana. Okay, so now let's play a little bit with putting more weight on the arms. Okay, so we've done a bunch of work here already to penetrate the shoulder blades, get some mobility and also strengthen the arms. Have a chair, ideally at the wall. Okay, so again, if your walls are precious and you're afraid of, you don't want to bang them, which probably most people don't want to bang their walls, you can put a blanket over the back of the chair and then it'll be soft. Okay, it may not bang anyway, but just as an extra precaution. And then have a look. We're going for Adho Mukha Vrksasana, so half full arm balance here. Okay, so you're going to place your arms in the same way that you've been placing it for the Admokasvanasana work. Rotate your upper arms and then lift up onto the chair. And so first here you'll see I'm like in a plank position. Okay, but then start to walk your legs towards the front of the chair and lift your hips up and back like Admokasvanasana. Now, if you can, walk to the very front of the chair and lift your hips up any amount. Okay, notice that my head is lifted. Raise your eyes up and move the thoracic spine in. Okay, lift the buttocks. And then be on your arms. Stand on your arms here. Okay, now if this is a little bit intense, it's too much, right? The chair gives you some give, right? So if you're more back here, then that's okay. Be with that for a bit. But then know that the idea here is to get the shoulders over the wrists. Okay, that's the idea. Push the floor down, lift your hips up, lengthen the side body. Breathe. As you raise your eyes to look towards your thumbs, pretend like your chin connected to the middle of the upper back, and as you look forward, penetrate that back body in more. Okay, maybe you have a memory of the back from downward dog or from Adho Mukha Vrksasana, and recreate that here. Okay, and then rest, pause, and be here. Okay, now we are doing a lot of work that requires, wrist flexion. So if you're sensitive there, you might find you want to do some opposite motions with the wrists as a, release, as relief in between. Okay, so something like this, and you can just take it in different angles, try to release the wrists just as you're resting in between attempts. Okay, circles are also good. Okay, so now you're gonna go up again. And depending on where you're at with your handstand journey, maybe you're gonna stay with what I just showed, right? And repeat that a few times. I mean, this work, there's no secret instruction and one specific thing. If you do this, you'll get up into your handstand. It takes time, it takes practice. Okay, so for this half position, it's both about building the strength and duration. Okay, the holding. So yeah, be with that for a bit. Okay, so you can repeat one more time as is, and then you can also take it further. Okay, so then the next stage would be the Ekapada variation, one-legged. Okay, so same thing, you're gonna lift yourself up, come into the half position where your shoulders are over your wrists, okay, and then from here, raise one leg up, okay, and think about some of those things we did in the downward facing dog, one leg, Ekapada Admokasvanasana. Okay, where's the weight shifting? Push the floor, reach up, lower the leg down. Up and back. Okay, and again, second side, hold it there. And then release. You can go for another round, or you can come down and rest. Pause. I want to clarify one thing, okay? I've mentioned a couple times the idea of the shoulders coming over the wrists in this half position, okay? There's also the hips, right? The hips also have to come forward. And that challenges the position, right? So if the hips are a little bit back, it's a little more similar to Admokasvanasana. It may be a little bit easier in the beginning. But as you bring the weight forward, the hips come forward also. It brings an added challenge to the pose, okay? So first off, understand that. And yeah, so let's see here if I can show you what I mean. Okay, so first you're walking in. And so now I've moved my hands a little closer to the chair so that it feels like my hips now are a little bit more in line. We're getting closer. But what I want you to just try here is even just a little bit of movement here, because, right, experiment. Just be in your body and understand what does it mean to shift the weight forward so then the shoulders come beyond the wrists and back. And then what does it mean to lift the hips up and come forward? Okay, so back and forth like that. You know, like there's all different places along that journey. But a lot of times in full arm balance, in Adho Mukha Vrksasana, some fear comes with the shoulders going beyond the wrists there. Okay, so all of this is related to eventually being able to kick up and, you know, let go of any fears that may be there. So try that. First, just, you know, get up into your half position here and experiment a little bit with moving forward and back. Okay, and again, hold it for duration. Okay. All right, I'll walk you through again. We can go again together, but also know you can also pause the video and do this at your own pace a few times, however many attempts your practice today, you know, allows for. Yeah, and if this is going well for you, you can, again, keep stepping your hands a little bit closer in so that you're challenging those shoulders more and more as you start to figure out what is the role of the legs, what is the role of the arms, all the different pieces come into play. All right, so up you go. Come into your L shape, your Ardha position, half position here. Okay, and you can explore a little bit with that distribution of weight. Shift some weight towards the fingernails and just get comfortable with that. Okay, and then also what does it mean to lift the hips? Right, and then see the effect of that. Okay, and then when you're good with that exploration, you can do Ekapada one more time here. Okay, so one-legged position and raise your one leg up. Push the floor, reach up into that lifted leg. Hold it and then release. Second side. Push down, lift up. Push down, lift up. And then again, release, hold it, and then rest. Okay, so because this practice is a preparation for full arm balance, right? It's a collection of poses that, if practice, can lead you there. I mean, it would certainly be a good warm-up to then go ahead and take your full arm balance, but sort of the inspiration for today was to provide some options for folks who aren't yet able to kick up to work on and make progress in that direction. Okay, because a lot of times with more challenging poses, it's not just about practicing that challenging pose. It's like you have to understand the actions and the relationships between poses that are within your reach, right? So it's in those poses that you can then make progress in this other more challenging asana like full arm balance, handstand. Okay, so what we're gonna do next, and this is the last one that I wanna show today, is some jumping. Because aside from the strength in the arms and the shoulder blade, the penetration there that needs to happen, you have to be able to get up into handstand, and you have to learn that lift in the hips and the kicking. Okay, so how we're gonna work on that in a digestible part is jumping. Okay, so jumping, you can take Surya Namaskar and just go through it. Admokasvanasana to Uttanasana, back and forth. I'm going to show a variation here with bricks, just kind of something to keep your mind occupied as you practice your jumping. Okay, so I've got 2 bricks here and I've spaced them out a little bit. And then over top here, take Admokasvanasana. Okay, and then from here, you're going to jump onto the first brick from here. Okay, now if you just watch for a second, I want you to see how some of the principles that we were working on in the last sequence come into play. So the shoulders over the wrists, right? To jump back, up and back, right? The shoulders have to come forward, jump back. Okay, now the other thing, as you're practicing this, sometimes I think about this relationship, okay? Abdomen and thigh. And can you kind of keep that connection for a while as you lift the hips up and back? Okay? Keep it touching and jump. Okay, so forward and back a few times, coming to that first brick. Jumping and talking is very difficult, so I'm going to catch my breath here for a moment, but you keep going back and forth. All right. So then once you've got that, smaller jump, that just to the first brick down, you can start going to the second brick and back. Okay, you can go first brick, second brick, first brick, back, all the way to the second brick, all the way back. Okay, you can do all sorts of combinations. And when you're doing this, you have to have a bit of a flow. So just keep going. I'm going to talk, so I hope you're continuing to do as I'm speaking here. But you want to start to again, become aware of those lines and understand, right, the amount of weight that you're putting on your wrist and your arms, and feel how that weight is shifting. And then see, can you bring the buttocks over? Can you get a little bit of air, right? So that when you jump forward, can you land quietly, right? I haven't quite mastered landing softly on the way back, but on the way forward, if I land quietly, I know that the hips have lifted. That's a bit of it's something that I've observed, okay? So I kind of look for that. So go forward and back, play with different variations. You can set a timer and say, okay, I'm going to jump for 2 minutes and see how much you get in. You can come up with a sequence for yourself, but practice, okay? Now, again, depending on how much time you have for your practice, if full arm balance is in your practice, you know what you're doing, now go up, see what this has done for you. Can you get up there? Do 4 or 5 times, see what's happening. Okay, if not today, if you're looking for more guidance, I would say stick with this practice for a little bit. Do this, repeat the practice. And then maybe let me know how it goes too. I will do another video showing some ways of actually getting all the way up. But for now, I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, if you're done with your practice, please take Shavasana. Okay, lay yourself out, let your breath settle, breathe, and take some satisfaction in your practice. Good job. Okay, thank you very much for today, and I look forward to practicing with you again soon.